going to be patron. Actually, it could be either. Could still be either patron or control. I would imagine it's going to be patron though, just because control warrior, you're probably going to be running into druid in the first round, so might not be the best case. Okay, there we see the Warsong commander. So it is going to be the patron warrior on the side of Arthur, and obviously going to be a standard druid on the side of Yu. Well, it could still be ramp, I suppose, but unlikely to be so. We see at least one combo piece there. So Yu has a decision on his hands right here. He can either coin out the Darnassus or the Wild Growth. Darnassus is a little bit more risky because it could die to Fire War Axe, but if it doesn't die, then you get to have Lothab and Darnassus, and even if it does die, you have the Wild Growth anyway, but then your Innervate Lothab is a little bit off curve. So looks like it's immediately going to go for the Innervate Lothab, which will guarantee him 10 damage to the face because there's no way for your opponent to be able to use a spell, like Execute, for example, to kill it. But it might ruin his curve for later. So if Arthur is able to stabilize health-wise, he might be able to eventually deal with this. And obviously, actually, Acolyte of Pain is a pretty good response to this, honestly. He's not going to Acolyte. That's so surprising to me. I really would have expected an Acolyte there, just because if you play the Acolyte down, your opponent's put it into a really difficult decision whether he wants to hit face or deny the card draw. And if he denies the card draw, then he gets no damage to face, and you get to kill it with the Deathbite the following turn. So, really, really surprised we didn't just see the Acolyte there. He's taking a lot of damage by leaving this Lothab up, but I guess he's going for the long play and just going to kill his Darnassus and eventually just get the card draw off the Acolyte while battle raging. It just feels really greedy to me. And now he's going to be down to 15 health already. And but that said, he is going to. I mean, his opponent has nothing to do. The thing is, if his opponent did have a 5-drop, then he's pretty much dead in the water at this point. Although I guess he could have executed it anyway, which that would have made a bit of sense. But yeah, I just think it's a little bit too greedy. He could have really been punished if Yu had a good curve there. But yeah, gonna be able to kill off the Lothab there, and he's actually now Big Arthur is in a really, really good spot. So maybe he was correct. I don't know. Maybe he was correct in this play because he has now 2 executes in his hand. He's not gonna get comboed anytime soon, unless his opponent has perfectly Innervate combo. But his opponent's already used 1 Innervate, and on top of that, Big Arthur's still at 15. So if he armors up 1 time here and doesn't get an attack from Yu, then he should be fine. Obviously, Yu's hand is pretty lackluster right now. It's basically either, you know, Force Nature, Swipe, or Big Game Hunter. All 3 feel really bad at this point. So that's why I'm talking about Arthur's plays thus far. Arthur doesn't really have anything to do, though, unfortunately, as far as this coming turn is concerned as well, because if he Fire War Axes, he's putting himself in a spot where he could be combo cleared pretty easily. Thorson is a pretty good card, but again, he can't really play it right now. It's pretty important for him to get rid of this Big Game Hunter. If he doesn't, he's taking like way too much damage overall. He could also slam it, but then at that point you're not really drawing cards either. So it's a pretty tough decision, honestly. I mean, it's really tempting to go for the greedy play again and Fire War Exit. He could go for the really safe play and hit it and execute it, but then you might not have a play after that anyway. So yeah, really tough decision. And the scary thing is that you just saw your opponent play a Big Game Hunter. So what does that entail? Either he has 2 7-drops in hand, or something of that nature, or he has, you know, Innervate combo or something like crazy like that. So it's definitely possible for him to just die here if he goes ahead and Fire War Axes. Pretty scary spot to be in. So looks like he just slams. It goes for like the intermediate play, and it sets up his Fire War Axe. Gets back up to 16. He's still in a pretty good spot, particularly because if he does read that his opponent has a 7-drop, then he can just hit his Acolyte into it and execute it. and play Thorson, and from there he's, you know, just the utility of Thorson is so amazing, right? And if he doesn't, or if his opponent does have like something like double like combo in his hand, then he's perfectly fine against that as well. So yeah, looks like he's gonna go ahead and kill us off. Not gonna worry about the battle rage. Gonna go ahead and get the Thorson out in the field. Kind of needs a tempo at this point. He can draw cards later, especially with battle rage being only 1 mana. So definitely able to fit that in later. And obviously has like Grom in hand, which even among the Chinese players, I think you're seeing less of. I think they're not favoring quite as much as they were before. Before you used to see it in all the Chinese patron decks, even though it was cut out of the Western patron decks. But these days you're seeing these days you're kind of seeing it cut out of Chinese decks as well. But yeah, Big Arthur. Sorry, I can't. Every time there's a big 3 player, I like calling him calling him Big Arthur. And they always have like a name that's like a normal name, right? Like before it was Kimmy, so I was calling him Big Kimmy. I don't know. it's just a habit. Anyway, so Arthur in a good spot here. As far as, I guess I should talk about Yu's plays, right? His Thorson's really annoying, but you don't really want to be using, you know, your entire turn to kill it. And Sylvanas really isn't an option. I guess it is kind of an option, just because you can potentially, I mean, you basically have to trade into it and your opponent doesn't get an extra set of draws. But Arthur with a huge draw there with that Cruel Taskmaster, being able to take that out right away without having to use his face at all or use the Thorson. And he's going to get another set of discounts, which is obviously amazing. 1 mana Frothing, 1 mana War Song, 6 mana Grom, 0 mana Battle Rage. It feels pretty darn good. I wouldn't be opposed to seeing him just play out this this Frothing though, just to get some more damage onto the field. You're not really making it too big, so it's not going to be BGHable. And you've already seen BGH anyway, so yeah, I definitely agree with getting out this Frothing on the field just to get the tempo. Obviously, you can kind of OTK him later if it's in your hand for 1 mana, but yeah, I guess this is kind of okay. Just leaving the Thoros on the board. It's enough pressure. You're not going to get double comboed or anything at this point. You can't get double combo because you haven't seen a Thorson. And with double combo, you need to start with 10 mana, since it costs 12 mana total. So I guess this is fine, leaving the Frothing in the hand. I guess what this does do is that if you put the Frothing on the board, you're vulnerable to combo clear, right? Whereas this, you don't really want to combo clear this. It doesn't feel too good, obviously. So it kind of gives your opponent more value as far as a combo clear, even though it's kind of weird. Like, it's kind of weird because it's obviously not an AoE. Like, it doesn't do more damage just by having more things on the board like Flame Strike, right? But at the same time, sometimes, you know, sometimes you're forced to combo clear. Like this might be a board that's big enough to combo clear, or at least use a Force of Nature on. And if you have the Frothing Berserker, it just allows you to get more utility out of that combo clear. So that's something that I guess he might be thinking about. More likely, he's probably concerned about just getting the OTK off and doesn't want his Frothing to die. But yeah, we do see finally the Force Nature come out to clear the board. Unfortunately, he has to take the 5 damage because the math was a bit awkward. If he didn't do this, then the 2/2 would live, and you have to deal with it later, which is pretty annoying. In any case, not really a whole lot for for Arthur to do here. He might 0 mana Battle Rage. I think I would favor just going Gromming the face for 4. But I guess he's just gonna go for the Battle Rage. He does have those patrons, so he probably is gonna have a way to kill his opponent if his opponent plays any sort of cards, any sort of minions at all. So yeah, I definitely prefer just going this route. 0 mana Axe, why not? Hit the face. 7 damage to face, and definitely Arthur in a fantastic position here, which is strange considering that he got into this position without even playing any patrons whatsoever. He just, you know, had the answers for his opponent. But that kind of has a lot to do with the poor quality of Yu's hand in the beginning of the game. He had, and kind of maybe poor decision making. I guess it's kind of okay because you're hoping that you draw into some sort of 5-drop in later turns, which you never actually did. But yeah, innervating that Loath about really hurt him in the end because he followed with Darnassus Aspirant, both got cleared, and he basically had no play until turn 7, which really feels bad, especially since if your opponent's able to get out the Athoris on the board. Looks like we're experiencing a little bit of freezing. Gonna go ahead and refresh that. And okay, it looks like we're having a Force of Nature Wrath clear. And does that prevent lethal on the side of Arthur? Not sure. So 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Looks like he does have. Oh, well, definitely with the Inner Rage he has it. Yeah, and he has enough mana to play everything in his hand, I think. Yeah, with double Thorison discount, you can play everything, which feels nice. At least for the patron player. If you're the other player, it doesn't feel good at all. Alright, yeah, sorry for this lag. Nothing really I can do, unfortunately. But yeah, gonna be plenty more damage. So since we had the Inner Rage, it's going to add 3, 4, 5, no, 2, 5, 6. Yeah, so the Inner Rage adds 6 damage. So going to be 6 over lethal here. And Arthur takes the game. Pretty big win for him there because Druid can be, or it can be kind of hard for Patron to maybe win against other decks. Although against the Shaman, the Paladins, whatever. But yeah, being able to maybe have your Mage win against the Druid, for instance, or maybe your Druid wins against the Druid is always nice. You just want to get that first win out of the way. But obviously Conquest allows people to have comebacks. Looks like we got some spammers in the chat. What's up, Hearth Noob? How's it going? Alright, so for game 2, we're going to have Yu switching up to Paladin, and Arthur going to go ahead and play what looks like a Mech Mage. I haven't obviously seen the cards of Yu quite yet, so not really sure. I actually have the Mad Scientist in the Mech Mage of Arthur, which is kind of an old school list. Although I guess we did see Mad Scientist in the previous series. So it looks like Mad Scientist is making a comeback in Mech Mage. Sometimes you see the Unstable Portal Mana Worm version, but I think we saw Mana Worm in that version in the earlier Mech Mage as well. In any case, going to be Secret Paladin on the side of Yu. Not really quite sure what type of Secret Paladin, whether it be mid-range or aggro or somewhere in between. But yeah, gonna get that Secret Keeper out in the field, and then on the side of Arthur, it's going to be likely either going to be the Mad Scientist or the Snow Chugga. He's probably deciding between those two. I can't imagine he's thinking about the Annoyatron. Both have their merits. Snow Chugga obviously freezes the Secret Keeper no matter what, which is nice, even if he gets 2 secrets. And for the Mad Scientist, you obviously get the secret out, but might not be the greatest. So looks like Yu's gonna go ahead, play 2 secrets, and actually just go face, which makes a bit of sense. Just get the damage in. But it does mean that the secret's gonna get procced, so unfortunate in that sense, because this Snow Chugga is gonna get more value in the future. It's going to be Redemption rather than Avenge. You saw Arthur reaching for that Annoyatron, expecting it to be Avenge. And so now the Annoyatron is not quite as good, but it's still kind of okay. The other option obviously is that Mad Scientist. But yeah, either way it's not the greatest, but it's like kind of okay for Arthur. If he knew that his opponent had no cards or nothing to play on turn 3, he'd feel a little bit better. But obviously, Paladin has the ability to just make a dude, which is pretty good. Gets the Haunted Creeper just in time. Probably going to play it out since he has that Blessing of Kings. Unlikely for the entire spiders, or all the spiders, to get removed here. So, yeah, gonna be able to obviously kill this Annoyatron. Didn't really matter the order there. And gonna get a 4/4 on the side of Arthur, plus the Spirit Part, Tinkertown Technician. Very, very good card, obviously. But yeah, going to be obviously this trade is kind of hard to decide what to hit here, because you could hit face, deny True Silver. You could hit you could hit like the Secret Keeper. You could kill the spiders. Although I think the spider's probably pretty bad here, especially because Arthur doesn't even have you know, a Goblin Blast Mage, and you wouldn't even have the mech to kill it anyway. So I imagine just probably go face here. It looks like he's gonna value just killing or just freezing this Secret Keeper and maybe being able to ping it off later. But yeah, now we're gonna see obviously that Blessing of Kings go off on the Spider, kill off the Technician, and live the tell the tale. And yeah, this is what Arthur was thinking about last turn. Freeze up that Secret Keeper, don't take any damage, and be able to ping it off later. And now obviously that that Scientist can trade well into the Spider, which is actually right on time. I'm curious if he was actually thinking about the timing of this, getting out the Mad Scientist right before turn 6. It would make sense, obviously. But yeah, very, very smart play here actually by you to make sure that it procs, or that they're getting the Consecrate, even though the Consecrate isn't the greatest value. And obviously against like an aggressive deck you can get probably good Consecrate value later. You really don't want to get your Mysterious Challenger Mirror Entity. So yeah, it looks like it's just going to kill off the Sea Keeper because of the possibility for it to get buffed anyway. Now his opponent has to use 2 mana to kill the guy. Although he'd have to use 3 mana to make a secret anyway, so... although I guess it just incentivizes Arthur from doing it now that it's dead. But if Arthur can kind of read into this play and kind of read that, you know, it was kind of a weak Consecration, and he specifically had a 1-drop to play afterward, and there's 1 card in hand that's been in the hand for a while, Arthur might be able to read into this and play the Mirror Entity anyway. Unfortunately, if he does that, he's not really playing anything himself. But that said, his opponent doesn't have much damage on the board anyway, so might be the best situation for him to just kind of accept that that Mysterious Challenger. Kind of really tough decision for him here, honestly. So yeah, it looks like he did read that correctly, and is going to play that Secret, which does make his opponent's Secret Keeper bigger. And that card is OP, man. I imagine we're going to see the Mysterious Challenger anyway. Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to screw around and not play it. But yeah, unfortunately going to give his opponent a Mysterious Challenger, and what's even worse is that he top decked maybe the worst card in his entire deck because he was really relying on that Noble Sacrifice to do work for him, but unfortunately that Mysterious Challenger on the side of Arthur is going to be able to attack wherever it wants. Gonna start off with a Fireball? I don't think that's correct at all. I guess the reason you start off with a Fireball is because if the Mysterious Challenger get buffed, you cannot Fireball it anymore. So yeah, pretty tough decision here by Arthur, at least as far as the sequencing is concerned. But I think he's thinking that he's ahead since his opponent only has 1 card in hand, so he's fine taking a risk here, and or not taking risk, or like he's fine not taking the risk of it hitting the 1 in 4 or 1 in 3. It doesn't mean that he has to ping off the 6/1 though, but yeah. So it looks like he's fine doing this since he does have the card advantage. But he's going to be behind on tempo for at least the near future since he doesn't have any removal in hand. And Meg Mage isn't really good at coming back on the board, obviously, because they typically don't run things like Flame Strike. So yeah, it's going to be a tempo battle versus a card value battle, and having that having the 4/5 you know, Mysterious Challenger, or not Mysterious Challenger, the Secret Keeper, it's almost as big as a Mysterious Challenger at this point. Having that guy on the board is kind of a big deal. You going with the kind of greedy play with hitting the 2/2 in the face, kind of relying on that get down in order to clear his opponent's Mysterious Challenger. Obviously, if he runs into Flame Strike, he's gonna lose the game anyway, so not too worried about that card. And again, Big Arthur kind of faced with a tough decision, and I think I have to. In fact, the reason for him fireballing the Mysterious Challenger first was because he didn't want to take the chance of it landing on the 1 in 4, or 1 in depending if this is a get down or not, 1 and 4 or 1 and 3. If that was really the reason, I have to kind of question it, because he's definitely behind now, and he could definitely die. And I mean, he's obviously behind tempo, not behind in cards, but it's one of those situations where sometimes you can kind of overestimate how ahead you are or think you are, and I definitely think that that's the case here. So yeah, Arthur here does have the Blast Mage to be able to combat this huge board of 1/1s. You again going to be a little bit greedy and not attacking the 6/2, which makes sense. Obviously he didn't attack last time, so he feels perfectly comfortable just leaving it up. On the side of Arthur, he does have the Blast Mage, like I said, but it's really scary because he needs to kill the Secret Keeper or else he's dead. And if he doesn't, and the only way to get the battle cry off of the Goblin Blast Mage is to play a 4-mana mech, which means he can't ping, which really sucks, obviously. You saw him kind of point toward the creeper to make sure it didn't get more 1/1s out, but unfortunately, he can't really do that. But yeah, after not taking a chance earlier, he's going to have to take a chance this time. So this is what I was kind of maybe criticizing him earlier for, was I think he had to take a chance earlier and not take it too safe because he wasn't quite as ahead as he thought he was. Yeah, obviously he's ahead on board, but he's not ahead on... Oh, did he already proc the get down? My mistake if he did that already. So very, very good Goblin Blast Mage there is able to clear off the Mysterious Challenger. What is his secret then? Wait, I'm totally confused about what the secret is now. I completely forgot. In any case, we're going to see more damage to face. Actually, the knife does hit face, which is pretty big considering there's 2 charges left. I think he's hit face with 3 already, and then he's considering the last one. Yeah, he's considering the last one, and then he can hit face with his face and get lethal over... Well, it's kind of hard because you don't know if you're going to hit the 6/1 with the 1/1 or not. Because the 6/1 could definitely mean that you're dead. So, obviously a tough decision. Arthur already reaching for that Dr. Boom, pretty interesting. But let's see if he can clear the entire board. I'm not really sure if he can. I think he needs to have a taunt come out of that pile of cheddar. So I would run the 6/3 into the 3/2, or not the 6/3, the 4/3. Excuse me. Oh, what is the get down? What am I... Wait, how did he swing in last time? Oh, he swung in last time because there was too much... Yeah, sorry. My bad. I totally forgot about the interaction. He swung in last time. He was able to swing in last time because there was too many guys on the board, so he couldn't proc. Yeah, I was getting so confused, but yeah, that's obviously the reason. So yeah, unable to get the taunt off of the shredder there. It's going to be game, and Yu takes the game and evens the series 1-1. Oh, casting solo is really hard, guys. I'm like, my voice is so tired, and my tongue is like tripping over so many words. So I'm gonna take a second to just kind of sit back and relax and take a drink. So I'm gonna be silent for a bit, but just bear with me. Alright, so we have the shaman from Yu. We're going to see what type of shaman it is soon enough. Obviously, Arthur coming back with that mech mage. So yeah, the story of last game was him being... him misreading the state of the game, thinking that he was more ahead than he was and that he could play safe. But sometimes, you know, you play too safe and your opponent can just kill you. or the other way around, your opponent can stabilize. Sometimes you think that you have enough pressure to kill your opponent, you can make certain trades, which you've seen happen in earlier matches. One that comes to mind is RDU a couple weeks ago. Although if I say that, you're probably not going to know what match I'm talking about. But the point is, it can happen where you play too safe trading, thinking you have enough aggression to kill your opponent, or you play too safe trying to clear your opponent's board when they have the opportunity to kill you. Really interesting play here, going to be Coin Totem. I haven't seen Coin Totem in a long time, guys. But looks like it's going to be the Mad Scientist, which means it's probably going to be an Urshock here. With Moogless Champion in your hand as well as Sylvanas, I really don't like the Coin Totem. I guess he wanted to be able to use his Flame Tongue, or maybe a Rockbiter, but he had Rockbiter in hand, so that doesn't really make much sense to me. So yeah, he's going to be floating a mana here, but at least he does get rid of that Mad Scientist. And the side of Arthur going to be Mech Warper into Snowchugga into Clockwork Gnome, the Dream, and no Lightning Storm Insight for you, so pretty sad sight to see here. Pretty interesting to see the Moogless Champion in use deck after seeing it earlier in Breath's deck as well. I suppose maybe a Chinese player has innovated a Moogless Champion Shaman deck, so that would make a bit of sense. Unfortunately for you, Arthur's gonna keep on the pressure, and without Lightning Storm, I mean, it seems like, you know, top decking a 1-drop here at this point with like almost no cards in hand, it seems like a bad draw, but it's actually a really good draw because you're allowed to keep up the pressure and put as much damage to your opponent as possible. And with this Mirror Entity and the Fireball in hand, I imagine that unless there's a Lightning Storm picked up very, very soon, it's going to be going to Big Arthur. I can't imagine anything else than just Mirror Entity and pushing everything in the face. I suppose what he could do is go to face with the 4-4-2-2 and or 2-3 and 3-2, and then ping and throw the 2-1 into the Pilot Shredder, since it's not it's one of the better trades you're going to get. But then again, Shaman can't really do 1 damage anyway, so I don't really see the point. Arthur could be worried about Lightning Storm anyway. There could be Lightning Storm in the hand of you if he was just playing like greedy essentially, and getting out the Shredder first so that he can get good trades onto the Tinkertown Technician, for instance. So that could be something. But it looks like, yeah, there's just going to be a trade out, and the Mirror Entity is going to allow Arthur to keep some tempo here. But yeah, really soft spot for you. Not really anything to do. Just has to basically hex a 4-3 that already got value in, and this is basically why you don't Coin Totem in turn 1, because it really screws up your turns later with such a dense hand like that. Big Arthur going to keep the pressure on, going to clear out the totem so no Flame Tongue stuff, and he pretty much knows that his opponent has Flame Tongue in hand with that Coin Totem on turn 1. Not sure what we're going to see here. We could see the Sylvanas, obviously it would get Mirror Entity. He's already tested for Counterspell. Unlikely to be Effigy at this point, since he's seen Mirror Entity in the other matches as well. So gonna go ahead and give his opponent a Drake, give himself 2 chances to get Lightning Storm. Unfortunately, the first card is going to be that Dark Iron Dwarf, which you don't typically see. With that spell damage, does that give Arthur lethal? 4, 7, 9, 11, 17, 18. He's going to have 18, which is more or less lethal. Oh, it is lethal. What am I talking about? Just kidding, I miscounted somewhere. So there's going to be game for Arthur. He's better at counting than I am, apparently. And going to be 2-1 in favor of Arthur. So, like I said before, this is the problem with bringing Shaman to the early rounds, because you're typically going to be facing off against, you know, the premier decks, and you might just be seeing yourself falling out. Which is why you see people bring Shaman in the final rounds and hope that their opponents also save Shaman for the final round. like as you can see here, Yu's bringing Shaman, and it looks he has 1 foot out the door. So typically you see all the people who decide to bring Shaman earlier on, they just get knocked out. So that's typically the strategy you see. You see the weakest decks saved for the final rounds. If you're new to this tournament, players have to play all 9 classes throughout the tournament. It is 8 players, so 3 rounds. And you play 3 classes in the first round. If those get eliminated, or if you win, then you don't get to use any of the classes in the next round, and then the same thing for the final round. So you have to use all 9 classes throughout the tournament. And yeah. So we might see a turn 2 Dr. Boom here, which I would be perfectly in favor of doing. We obviously might get wrecked by either Big Game Hunter or Hex, but it's just too fun. At least for my entertainment purpose, I like to see it. If he doesn't go for that, there's no real natural curve for him to go for it anyway. I mean, obviously you go Innervate, Shredder into Coin, Keeper into maybe top deck something over the next couple turns. And worst case scenario, you get to Innervate Dr. Boom on turn 5. But yeah, it looks like he's gonna go for the safe route, which, I mean, typically Shamans don't keep either Big Game Hunter or Hex in their opening hand against Druid, so a little bit disappointed. But I can see him playing safe here, especially because he is playing against Shaman, so he's likely to win. Shaman used to be favored against Druid, but definitely not the case anymore. On the side of you, this is like a prime example why Shaman isn't very good anymore, because your early minions aren't OP enough essentially, and even if you put in the same kind of cards that other classes can put in, it's just really bad. In the early game, you don't have enough ways to kind of come back. We were talking about this the other day as well. It's hard to do small amounts of damage because neither your hero power nor your weapons can really do that. And then on top of that, the things like your class cards just aren't OP enough. They typically require overload. So yeah, you saw you kind of laugh there about the Patient Assassin, but that's not really a big deal, especially because he doesn't really have anything big coming up. He has Fire Elemental, but that's 2 turns away. And yeah, there's nothing really for Arthur to do here. Could use the Wrath. Looks like it's in a Wrath and then coin Darnassus. I wonder if he's going to take out the Flame Tongue Totem, though, because if he takes the Flame Tongue Totem, then that allows his Darnassus to live, which would make sense. Even though 1/1 trades into it, I mean, he gets value out of killing it. Looks like he is going to swing, yeah. So, I mean, he does get value, even though it seems kind of crappy, to have your guy die to a 1/1, you are getting to be able to kill, or you are being able to deal 3 damage, which is kind of nice. And your opponent, obviously, since it was stealth, your opponent wasn't able to deal with it earlier, which he was planning on doing, so perfectly fine. Obviously, you saw there that Yu was able to kill off that, or use his Rock Biter to clear the board. Unfortunately, he still doesn't have a turn 5 play unless he's planning on Lightning Storming, which, looking at Arthur's board, that doesn't look like it's going to be the play. Or looking at Arthur's hand, excuse me. So yeah, Arthur has the opportunity here to either Keeper the Grove or innervate his Drake, which I think I would have done. You can save Dr. Boom for later, I think, especially because he was unwilling to do it earlier. But I mean, this Keeper does allow him to kind of rule over these totems. And obviously pretty horrible hand for you, being unable to do anything. I really would not like to see the Flame Tongue. Not going to get nearly enough value. I think you just have to suck it up and pass here. I guess what he's thinking about is if he Flame Tongues now, then you can fire him until the next turn. And it would kind of slow Arthur down a bit, because you'd have to hero power. So I guess this makes a bit of sense. He kind of needs the tempo. Aside of Arthur, looks like he's probably gonna charge this year the Claw. Yeah. Doesn't want to use the Innervate yet, which at this point you're running out of cards, so I don't know if you really need to be holding on to the Innervate. Obviously the other play would have been to Drake Innervate hero power, but yeah, this is the reason why you did that. He gets that guy off. And Arthur looks like he's just going to be playing on curve, playing out that Thorson. And as bad as this game has been for you, he's honestly right back into it. Because he gets to play a Dr. Boom that Arthur can't deal with. I'm going to go ahead and trade off into the Thorson, play the Dr. Boom, and Arthur, well, he does draw an Ancient Lore. Unfortunately, he can't innervate Big Game Hunter afterward. If only that Ancient Lore were cheaper. So, instead he's going to probably play out his own Dr. Boom. And likely hit face with his Jewel of the Claw, because there's no real reason to be trading into anything. You might as well put pressure. The Shaman typically doesn't have burst damage. I mean, yeah, there's the Alec here, but you've already seen one Rock Biter and one Plankton Totem, and your opponent only has 3 cards in hand. Looks like he's going to trade. He's going to get punished. Never trade. Always go face. Yeah, so it's going to play out on Dr. Boom, which more or less gets challenged by his opponent's Dr. Boom. Test card Totemic coming into the hand of you. We could see Lightning Storm, honestly. We could see Lightning Storm and maybe try to get lucky with the Boom Bots, but nope, just going to be trading with the Boom Bots. And this allows for a good trade with the 7-4 into the 7-7. So yeah, going to be likely that, as well as the Hana Creeper and Totem. Does pick up the Taunt Totem, which saves him from dying, I believe. No, he still dies to combo. Because his opponent would have 23 with nothing on board, and with face going into the Totem, it would be 21. Lore is why Druid is so much better than Shaman these days. Such a consistent and good way of drawing cards that Shaman just doesn't have. And yeah, Shaman gonna have a hard time to deal with this 5/5, let alone the cards that come after it. Might see Alakir here just to trade into it once. It's probably the most efficient way to deal with this. Otherwise, you're using Earthshock, which doesn't feel good at all, obviously. Oh, he's gonna use the Earthshock. Okay, so gonna put maximum pressure on. Use completely all in at this point, which is not where you want to be. Where you want to be as a Shaman. For Arthur, he's gonna try to top deck swipe here. Gets the Roar. Gonna go ahead and play Loatheb so that he doesn't die. His opponent still will play Lightning Storm though, and since he has nothing else to do, he might as well just do it. And probably play the Egg too, since he's completely all in. Kind of okay rolls. Actually, you'd obviously rather have the 4 on the Drake, but he's able to clear both of them out, which is important. If it rolled 3-3, actually, if it rolled 3-3 would have been the same. So, from the perspective of you, it was going to be that way. It's going to be fine either way, because he was going to be able to. He was going to trade anyway. Arthur is going to go ahead and Wild Growth. I imagine it's going to be Force Nature to clear the Alakir. Alakir is really the only thing dealing any damage here. Unfortunately, he can't force and then Druid of the Claw, but he can force and ooze. Looks like he's hovering over the Druid of the Claw, which is really risky in my opinion. Maybe he Druid of the Claw, Innervate, Silence. But yeah, I definitely favor. I mean, I don't think you hold on to the combo here just to save it for face damage. I think if you just stabilize, you're fine. Although I guess if your opponent top decks anything kind of big, you're in a bit of trouble and you kind of want to burst. But yeah, I really favor just clearing this off. I wonder if he holds on to the ooze though. Oh, he's gonna clear off the totem and use his face to clear it. Very interesting. All right, here's where we get to see if if Yu's running Bloodlust in this deck. All right, Shredder's pretty decent. Shredder's better than something like, you know, another Earthshock. I guess he's used two Earthshocks. No, maybe I'm thinking about last game. But yeah, better than some sort of useless spell. You really need to get minions on the board right now. And you already overloaded too, so he's only floating 2 mana. Instead of Arthur, gets to play out this Dreader Claw and likely a Shredder as well. Looks like he's considering silencing either the egg or the Shredder. Probably the egg if you're going to silence anything, because a 4/4 is the biggest possible thing that could come out of that Shredder. I think Yu hasn't used a Flame Tongue Totem yet, so a top deck Flame Tongue Totem would be pretty nice as far as clearing out this board and using his totems efficiently. He's going to silence the Shredder, which I don't know if I agree with. I mean, particularly because, like I said, 4/4 is pretty much the biggest thing that's going to come out that Shredder anyway. Although he is guaranteed to kill it off, so that makes sense in that sense. Oh, that's kind of unfortunate. Yeah, the placement's kind of strange on the side of Yu. He's unable to make very good use of this Defender of Argus. Yeah, this makes a bit more sense, I believe, just because you get to hit the 1/1 in, and then you're able to use your Defender of Argus to buff the Shredder and the egg. But I wonder if he favors going and getting the 4/4 right away. He's already seen 2 silences. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he decides to keep it in 1/3 mode or not. But yeah, I think it looks like we're just gonna see the 2 1/1s go into it, and then keep the 2 1/3s there, and then go face with these. Yeah, this play is fine. I kind of like this play. Yeah, Arthur's like barely holding on by a thread, and obviously it's gonna be hard to get to this Drake because he's used all of his silences, and in order to get to the 4/4, he needs to kill a 1/3 that makes a 4/4, which is kind of unfortunate. He's not facing lethal on board though, so that's one thing going for him. If he uses Savage Roar, he doesn't have any chargers, so he can only attack with his face and the 2 minions on board, obviously. So I think Savage Roar is out of the question, and so you just you kill the Spell Power Totem with the 3/2. You kill the Stoneclaw Totem with your 2/4, and then you obviously Shredder, and obviously Hero Power, and don't attack. I guess you could attack maybe, but it's kind of every point damage matters obviously. So, but yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and play out the Temple BGH, especially with that Savage Roar in hand to be able to get some more damage later. You can kill like a Leptilon. You've already seen Dr. Boom. You don't know if your opponent plays Leptilon, so it definitely makes sense to play this guy out. And BGH on the side of you is not what he wants to see at all, obviously. Gonna be trading here, foregoing 4 damage, which is really risky, but I guess he's a little bit afraid of that potential Savage Roar, which he could read that his opponent has right now, since it's been in his hand for a while if he's been paying attention. The Temple BGH on the side of Yu makes a bit more sense, just because he knows that his opponent's probably not going to be playing anything other than, or anything that can be BGH other than Dr. Boom. Sorry for the lag. Swipe is actually a really good draw. I mean, even though you don't always want removal, and since he already has another spell in his hand, it's not the best, but probably better than some sort of minion right now. Looks like he's gonna attack into one of these guys and hope for a spell damage creature. There's Blood Mage Thanos and the Kobold Geomancer, I believe. Is there one more? There might be one more. It also could be some sort of taunt as well. like Unseeable Goal. In any case, he can clear the board guaranteed. He just takes 4 damage extra if this is his ball damage. Minibot's pretty good. It will be very, very good for trading. So yeah, probably going to see him just kill off this Big Game Hunter. And depending on the top decks for Arthur, or excuse me, for you, actually for both players I should say, Arthur could be back right into this game. So you picks up a Rock Biter. Really not what he wanted to see. Although he's had decent top decks the last 2 turns, so not too surprising. Or not, yeah, not too surprising to see him top deck that. Another swipe comes into the hand. So if I were Arthur here, I think it would attack into the flame or the healing totem just in case he gets another Defender of Argus. Although face damage is relevant, so I can see it either way. But yeah, Sylvanas is very, very good. I've seen all the silences. So yeah, this is obviously very good for him. And now the Divine Shield on the Shield mini bot is kind of a liability. And Arthur's really low in health too, so yeah, he can't really afford to let this Sylvanas live. Looks like he's gonna play Darnassus and just kind of let his opponent attack him in the face, but then he's gonna die. Well, he'll live by 1, at least as we see in the hand of you and on the board, obviously, if he hero powers, because he'll go up to 9. But yeah, really awkward situation with that Divine Shield. Really would wish he had a guy that would just die to the Sylvanas at this point. But looks like he's gonna play out the Darnassus and just kind of risk it. He knows that his opponent has had there was no reason for his opponent to play whatever was in his hand from the turn before. So definitely Rock Biter is within the possibility. Definitely, I mean, some sort of spell, obviously. Maybe it could be Hex. Obviously not going to be Earthshock, because I think you just kill the mini bot if that were the case. But speaking of Hex, there is the Hex. If you're you, do you clear the board here or do you go face? Because you're so close to killing him. And really nothing kills you. I think you've seen both Druid of the Claws. So Druid of the Claw Roar wait, how much would that be? 8 plus 8, yeah. So Druid of the Claw Roar would be lethal. And that's about it. Like other than, I mean, obviously combo is lethal, but as far as playing on certain things, I think he can definitely read by now that Arthur has Savage Roar in his hand, since it's been in his hand the entire time. That hasn't been a good time to use it. So he can read that. Savage Roar right here, this coming turn would be 12 damage, 13 with hero power, and then 17. Actually, that is going to be lethal for Arthur if he leaves that up. Wait, is it? Oh, he's going to clear. Okay, he's going to clear 1 guy, because he's a little bit afraid of that Savage Roar. Okay, makes a bit of sense. And lore is decent. You get to draw some cards, but at the same time, I mean, your Sylvanas can just kind of trade and take your mini bot. Oh wait, last turn, wait, he didn't have lethal. I'm sorry. He had 4. For some reason I was counting 6 plus 6. He had 4 plus 6, 10, 11, and then plus the swipe would have been 15. Sorry, it wasn't lethal. Sorry about that. Getting kind of tired here. It gets tiring casting by yourself, guys. In any case, Arthur really thinking hard about this one. He actually, yeah, he can't. Well, obviously he's dead. What am I talking about? He can't play the lore now here because he'd be dead. So I guess you just swipe and then give him a 2/2. Yeah, it looks like that's the best play here. Swipe and give him a 2/2. And then maybe Savage Roar, though maybe you don't. Because you might need that Savage Roar to kill your opponent since you're so far behind at this point. So yeah, it looks like he's not going to. And yeah, probably just going to save the Ancient Lore for healing, it looks like. Egg on the side of you isn't the greatest, but it's something. It's sticky. You can use it if he gets any buffs. Use covering his face. He's thinking, why did I bring Shaman today? Why did I do this to myself? The lore, I assume, is going for healing. Obviously, he can Wrath, so he's not guaranteed to be dead, even if he draws cards here. It's actually a really tough decision because his opponent obviously doesn't have anything on the board to use. Likely going to be Hex, since he hasn't used anything for a while, and it could be damage. He's seeing 2 Rock Biters though. If it were Flame Tongue, I imagine you'd have already seen it, just to get the extra damage from you. So yeah, probably not going to be Flame Tongue, but could be something like Crackle, or maybe like a Lightning Bolt, though that's not likely to be in Shamans these days. So yeah, he does go for the heal, but since he's already healed, he doesn't really need to kill this. Looks like he is going to kill it. He could have maybe cycled as well, since he's obviously running low on cards. Mookless Champion's a pretty good card here to buff up his minions. Likely going to see a Hex here. There's nothing else you're ever going to Hex. And oh, he's gonna get the 4/4 first. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, definitely get it better to get the 4/4 first. Really needs that damage. And that's probably going to be it, unless something really... Nope. Harrison Jones is not going to do anything. And I don't really want to show Harrison Jones, honestly. I don't know if you've already seen it, but I don't remember at this point. But yeah, definitely don't want to show the Harrison Jones. And after a marathon of a game, you finally takes it, and his Shaman is finally through. And if you can take this Druid Mirror, then he's actually in a really good spot moving forward in the tournament, because his Shaman will have been cleared. Alright. Hopefully I can get through this one, guys. Okay. Arthur with Darnassus, obviously keep that, don't keep removal. Darnassus in the Shredder is pretty good. Also Wild Growth in the Shredder is pretty good as well. I wonder if he goes Wild Growth or Shredder, or Wild Growth or Darnassus first, excuse me. Because if you play the Darnassus, it gets Wrath, it feels pretty bad. Especially because you're forced to Darnassus the turn afterward. And then if, or Wild Growth turn afterward, and then you're playing off curve with the Shredder. Let's see what he goes for. Looks like he's going to go for the Wild Growth. Just guarantee that Shredder out. He doesn't know that if his opponent has Wrath or not. Little do we know, little does he know that his opponent doesn't have anything to do. On the side of you, he can Innervate Shredder, which I think I would do. Particularly because you just saw your opponent use Wild Growth. So if your opponent's not going to want to Wrath here after using Wild Growth, he's going to want to play a Shredder, which he does have. So a lot of big, bulky, powerful cards in Yu's hand with that Sylvanas and that Ancient Lore, but at the moment Big Arthur definitely has the tempo by far. Looks like Yu is reaching for that coin, which means it's likely going to be Sylvanas. Sylvanas makes a bit of sense here, just because unless we see a Silence out, it's guaranteed to be going to be a steal onto the 2-drop, but nope, looks like he's going to go for the Shredder. Probably going to go Sylvanas the following turn, I believe. Pretty good draw here for Arthur. Probably want to play on curve here to get more options for later. Be interesting to see if he trades. I mean, it's tempting not to trade, to go face and make your opponent trade into you. Typically, if you have Shredder versus Shredder, you just go face, but when you give your opponent really good trade like this, then really good trade being the Shredder into the Drake, obviously, then sometimes you want to trade. And in that, given that, he might actually just go for his own Shredder, and then make it really annoying for his opponent to deal with, and just play off curve for a couple turns, which makes a bit of sense. And I can see the reasoning behind this play. Just make it as annoying for your opponent as possible. So on the side of you, he can silence or he can play Innervate Sylvanas, which I think I favor the latter just to get more power onto the board. If you put a 2/4 on the board, it just trades horribly with the Shredder anyway, with the remaining Shredder, that is. So yeah, it would just make more sense, at least in my opinion, to get out the Sylvanas, put some tension onto the board. You can silence later. You don't really need cards right now. Referring to that lore. I mean, looks like he's gonna go for the silence option though. Gets Mad Scientist out of it, and yeah. The reason, anyway, what I was referring to about the cards is that you don't really need to be saving Innervate for the Ancient Lore because you want to get the board back as quickly as possible. As far as Arthur's concerned, he just wants to get as much tempo as possible, so he's going to go ahead and clear off the board. Little doesn't know that his opponent has the Sylvanas. I want to, at this point, since you've already seen two, or you've already seen one keeper, you might go for Innervate Sylvanas here, even though you're floating 1 mana. The other option, obviously, is Loatheb. The other options, excuse me, are Loatheb and the lore. I doubt we're going to see lore. It's just too slow. And you might need that Innervate for later to make a tempo play rather than, you know, a card drop play, which obviously that would be with the lore. Getting more cards would be nice, but it's not really likely that you're going to be able to get more spells to be able to clear your opponent's board. And if you Innervate lore, you're going to want to be getting another Innervate to be able to make a tempo play later. So I think I favor either going Loatheb or Innervate Sylvanas. And it looks like you finally agrees with me and goes with the play that I would have done. So, gonna get that Sylvanas out there. From Big Arthur's perspective, this might be the cue for him to just ignore everything he will face. It's definitely what I would do. Although it's definitely hard to do that because maybe your opponent can set up some sort of situation where he gets a good trade-off with the Sylvanas. Arthur could force his opponent to get, at best, a 2/4. Well, at best, a 2-drop. Well, no, I don't think that's the correct shredder. I think that's the other shredder. Yeah, I think that's the other shredder, so I don't think... Wait, no, it doesn't matter what shredder it is. What am I talking about? Yeah, so the Sylvanas came afterward, which means the guy's coming out. Yeah, sorry, I lost my mind for a second there. So yeah, it looks like he's just going to force him to take a 3-drop, or a 2-drop, excuse me, or 2/4 at best, unless that 2-drop was like a millhouse. But yeah, still tempo on the side of big 3 to Arthur, so it makes sense that play there. Wasn't too disastrous whatsoever, and going to be a force in order to clear. Facing a lot of damage, so it makes a bit of sense here. Also going to clear out that Dionysus rather than the Keeper, just to deny some mana. But not going to matter too much as far as Arthur's concerned, because he can get the lore off first, which is really huge in this matchup. Honestly, whoever gets the lore off first basically gets the first play. I mean, it's obvious to say, right? You get the first play, but it's really huge to be able to get the first play in Druid. And not only that, you get your options first. So in this situation, Yu's pretty much he's forced to play this lore, and then now he's at the mercy of Arthur's play. Did I say Mad Scientist? I meant Crazy Alchemist. Sorry. Same thing though. 2/2 doesn't draw any secrets in Druid. So yeah, Loatheb as well as Darnassus. Actually, I would have liked to see... Actually, he couldn't innervate out the Harrison, could he? So yeah, Loatheb into just Darnassus go face. Perfect time to kind of turn on the aggressions to especially against a Druid. You just Loatheb go face, and they can't really do anything about it. And with only 8 mana, Yu's going to be hard-pressed to respond to this. I don't know what card he's reaching for now, but I imagine some sort of defensive card. Okay, Loatheb is like not very good here because he's facing down 15 damage on board. So I think it might be better to just go for like a Druid of the Claw to protect himself. You're dead to combo eventually anyway. There's really no way to protect yourself from combo, because if you play Loatheb, you have to trade, which means you're never going to kill your opponent. So you're never going to have a situation where the tempo you gain is going to lead to your own victory. You have to play defensive the entire time. So it doesn't really make any sense to play the Loatheb right here. Unfortunately, having only 8 mana really sucks because you can't play something like Drew the Claw or like a 5-drop and a 4-drop. So it's probably going to be a trade onto one of these 5/5s, doesn't matter which, and then oh, he's gonna charge it. I guess that makes some sense. But that means that it's guaranteed dead to this keeper, and just kidding, doesn't really matter. Arthur draws the Savage Drawer, so that's going to be lethal. And Arthur is finally going to take this series after it took what seems like forever. I know it feels like forever to me. Hashtag solo casting is hard. But yeah, smiles on the side of you. Unfortunate for him, but he's going to be eliminated. And big threes, Arthur is going to move on to the next round. What? Unless that's a mage in disguise. Wait, what? There's something wrong with the graphic. Anyway, looks like they're not restarting the game unless Chiang concedes like right now. So looks like the graphic on the left is incorrect, and he does have Druid in his lineup. Gonna be looking at Chiang's face to see if there's anything unusual. Looks like he's thinking about what play to make, so therefore he's not thinking about the Druid being strange. I'm gonna go ahead and go with the Darnassus. It makes sense in this situation because he doesn't have a 3-drop anyway. He doesn't need to stay alive. It's just gonna put pressure on his opponent. So he can just go ahead and wild growth the following turn and maybe play out a Drake. So yeah, just get it out in the field first because you're probably going to be playing if you're not going to be playing Darnassus in the wild growth, you're going to probably be playing wild growth and Darnassus. So might as well get in the field and start smacking away at your opponent now. Chiang right here is just bluffing. He's not going to be not playing the wild growth right here. He's just kind of pretending that he maybe has shade or something, and it's just gonna keep his opponent guessing, I suppose. Interesting decision right here for YanYu. Obviously, it depends on what he thinks is in the hand of Chiang. He could have a 4-drop and he just didn't play it and wanted to get out his ramp as fast as possible in case his Darnassus died. So it's definitely possible for Chiang to have a 4-drop. He doesn't know that if he swipes right here, that Chiang will have a really bad next turn, i.e. hero power. But it's really hard not to develop a minion as a Druid. It's basically, Druid 1-on-1. You develop your minions first, you clear the board later. And Chiang actually top decks a Shredder, so he would have been fine anyway. Looks like he's probably going to go for the Drake, yep. And picks up an Innervate, which is pretty good considering he has more card draw in his hand. Aside of YanYu, his options are pretty much... Well, I guess he could Savage Roar. So there's a few options. None of them involve Big Game Hunter. So it's either Savage Roar clear, swipe clear, but you have to reveal your shade. I mean, I guess you have to reveal your shade for the other one too. I guess swipe would be better then. There's no real reason to Savage Roar clear here because you just swipe and kill the Darnassus and your shade doesn't die. So yeah, Savage Roar clear isn't a good idea. I take it back. But looks like he's gonna just play on curve and go with the Druid the Claw taunt. And kill through Darnassus. Unfortunately for Chiang, no way to get through this. I guess he could innervate Force of Nature. But yeah, he doesn't have any spells, which is unfortunate in this situation because obviously spell damage would be pretty nice. He can maybe like Wrath for 2 or something onto the Druid of the Claw and get through it or something. But yeah, kind of unfortunate on the side of Chiang. And I mean, his options basically are, well, actually he has the same pretty similar options too. Yeah, he can Savage Roar clear here, or he could Shredder, or he could innervate Laura. But yeah, I like this play a lot actually. I think this is probably the best play. Because it makes good use of your innervate because it's a really nice. This is a huge tempo play. You clear your opponent's board and put a strong minion on the board as well, and then you get to have your lore for future turns. Looks like he's just gonna give his opponent a 2-drop. Figures this is the best thing he's ever gonna or the worst thing he's ever going to give him. Looking at, you know, Shredder and 2/7 drops in his hand, so definitely makes sense. Unfortunately, it's a guy that trades into his own Shredder, which kind of feels bad, but nothing really that he can do. So yeah, good plays on both sides so far. I definitely agree with everything they've done so far. Pretty good pickup by YanYu here, being able to play something instead of being able to play nothing, obviously. Gonna Wrath first. Sorry for the lag. Gonna Wrath first to see if he can't. There's something on the board that he can't. Or doesn't have to trade into. Excuse me. And Chiang has a tough decision to make whether he wants to play the Dr. Boom or not. The thing is, the other thing that's nice about this Shredder pickup by YanYu is that he's had something to do every single turn. None of his plays have been suspect, if that makes any sense. Right? Like sometimes if you don't do anything, it's like, oh crap, maybe my opponent has, you know, situational cards like BGH, but the kind of hidden value, the plus hidden value of being able to do something good every single turn is that your opponent can't read into the fact that you have situational cards in your hand because you've actually been able to do everything every single turn. So Chiang is able to take this, you know, risk here, or is more inclined to take this risk, and you know, think about whether his opponent, or conclude that his opponent probably doesn't have a big game hunter. So YanYu's going to turn on the aggression, swipe face to get rid of those boom bots, and hits only for 1 of the Shredder and 2 for face, which really feels bad for Chiang, obviously. Chiang seeing only 2 cards in the hand of his opponent, he could suspect that it's combo, but it has a tough decision on his hands because yeah, Druid of the Claw is just really inefficient mana-wise, but so is this Force Nature as well. So gonna try to clear this board. Gets a Parrot, which is I mean, it doesn't really matter as long as something that you can clear. Obviously the Treant dies after this turn. Unfortunately for Chiang, YanYu has the first play as far as the lore is concerned, so that's gonna put Chiang definitely far behind. And this whole series of events basically started off with the Sylvanas being able to retake control of the board. Without the Sylvanas, would have been a really hard situation. Gonna double innervate into Druid of the Claw. Yeah, Chiang is like, what just happened? Yeah, so I'm gonna charge at the face. I definitely agree with this. Really tough spot for Chiang to be in. I think we're probably gonna see a Wrath and clear onto the Druid of the Claw, and then play your own taunt. Yeah, gonna go ahead and clear that. I mean, this is the best way to deal with it right now. So it's gonna bring him down to 6. YanYu doesn't have lethal right here, but he's pretty close. He's 3 damage off lethal at the moment. Let's see if he can pick up anything. Oh, that's gonna be lethal by itself. Doesn't even need the ancient lore. So yeah, Chiang is just gonna give it up, or obviously just gonna concede before he sees anything else. Thank you for the faster concede time, Blizzard. And YanYu is gonna take game 1 with the Druid that's not even in his lineup. I hope they fix that soon. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty nice when you get to play a class that's not even in your lineup, right? All right, so obviously Chiang didn't get to clear his Druid yet. Going to be now Warrior. So it looks like that Paladin should be a Druid. Looks like there was a mistake there. So probably going to be Warrior, Druid, and Mage instead of the Paladin. But the Warrior is in YanYu's lineup, and yeah, Chiang going to be playing with what looks to be a Demon handlock with the Sun. If you see Sun Fury and Mal'Ganis, it's probably going to be the Demon handlock. As well as Shadow Flame. Not going to be Zoo, not going to be anything of that sort. So, no matter what warrior this is, Chiang is going to be favored, but if it is the Grim Patron, then he's going to be even more favored. As far as Chiang's concerned, he might want it to be the Control Warrior, though, since his Druid would be much better against that. Although Druid is 50-50-ish against Patron Warrior, so it's not too bad. His rogue would be much better against Patient Warrior than Control Warrior, though. So, but it is the Patient Warrior, so we're going to see a lot of interesting matchups. Likely to see the Handlock win this one, though. I mean, obviously Patient always has a chance to win. And yeah, from there, very good matchups between the Patron and the Druid and the Patron and the Rogue. So kind of rooting for the Handlock here so he can get some more good matchups in the future. But in any case, we're probably going to see some good games. So let's just focus on this game for the moment. Going to be turn 1, do nothing, turn 2, hero power pass. Pretty standard for these two classes. Unfortunately, Chiang doesn't have a 4-drop yet to play. There's one. That's a 4-drop. If you look at his face, he's actually... I don't know what that expression is, but I guess it's happiness. I mean, he got a 4-drop, right? So maybe it is sadness because he wanted to get a bigger 4-drop. But I mean, Void Caller is much better than Defender Argus right now, right? Looks like it's going to be Acolyte of Pain on the side of YanYu. And Chiang has the opportunity to either Dark Bomb that or play his White Color. I definitely prefer getting threats out onto the board rather than denying my opponent cards right here. Although they can definitely get a lot of stuff done if they're able to draw those cards, so it can go either way. YanYu is contemplating now whether to use that Inner Rage in his hand. If this Acolyte gets out right off the bat, then it's kind of crappy. So he's just thinking about it, but gonna leave it there. And Chiang gonna go ahead and play out this Void Caller, question mark. He could play out the Ancient Watcher and then maybe turn it up later in Dark Bomb this turn, but looks like he's not gonna go for that. Going to be kill on this Void Caller, gonna spawn that Doomguard, which he can kill, but he has to use the coin. Yeah, it makes sense to do this because you just want to draw cards now anyway. Because you get to attack the Acolyte in before it gets Dark Bombed, or... Well, I guess Dark Bomb would be fine, but before it gets owled or anything. So, again, sorry for the lag. But in any case, it's going to be able to attack this in and execute it. Oh, wait, what? What just happened? I guess he just attacked face? I guess the play was attack face, and then we saw... Sorry, so through all that lag, the Acolyte actually attacked face and didn't deal with it. And didn't use the coin either. And then Chiang life tapped and Dark Bomb and smacked the face with the Doomguard. So, okay, I guess. So, on the side of YanYu, he could attack face with his Despite while developing Patrons. And then coin... He would get 4 Patrons on the board, a 5-1, a 2-3-3s, and a 3-2. And also be able to coin execute. The problem with that is that if your opponent has AoE, you pretty much lose the game. But if he doesn't, then you pretty much win the game. So it's up to him. Especially because hand like these days doesn't have... they don't always run that many AoE clears. Usually it's only 2 these days. So it looks like YanYu's going to go for the less risky play. Go for this unseeable goal, which will allow him, excuse me, to clear off the Doomguard next turn with just his weapon. So that sets up a pretty good turn next turn. This is pretty deftly handled by YanYu, obviously, because now he can spawn Patrons while clearing his opponent's board and getting Battle Rage. But good play by Chiang on the opposite side, getting out this Ancient Watcher to make it more difficult to clear out the Doomguard. He could have also just played out the Mountain Giant, but he couldn't taunt it. And if his opponent had some sort of execute, it would have been really, really painful. So this play definitely makes sense. Although he could have just taunted both and it would have been out of range of Despite, he would have had to use more resources. But I guess this makes it as difficult as possible to kill the Doomguard unless he has execute. And if he has execute, he's not using it on his Dr. Boom or the Mountain Giant. So definitely makes sense. And looks like it's going to be... Oh, he's probably going to whirl... No, he can't Battle Rage in that situation, so... Wonder what... Okay, looks like it's just going to be Whirlwind. And then... Execute? No, it's going to leave it on the board, which leaves him open to Shadow Flame. There wasn't any way to Shadow Flame otherwise. So, although I mean, he could just Dark Bomb actually. He could just, yeah, he could just Dark Bomb 1, hit the 2-1 into the 3-2, hit the 5-3. But I mean, if the 5-3 is going to die, you might as well just use a Shadow Flame, especially because you're not going to use it from now on. You want to get as much pressure on the field as possible. And YanYu is going to use this opportunity to spawn another set of patrons, sensing this opportunity, especially like I said earlier that handlock these days don't run 2 sets of or they only run 2 sets of AoE, and it's unlikely for him to have the second set. And he also gets to Battle Rage off of this, so really good play by YanYu, or really good set of plays I should say, like really looking into the future and seeing his possibilities. Also, I mean, he's used a lot of whirlwind effects, but he still hasn't used a frothing. So if he gets another, I mean, he has a Death Spite in his hand. If he gets another unstable ghoul, then he still has a way to deal a lot of damage, and he doesn't need to do a ton of damage because the handlock is going to be on a low amount of health to start with. They're going to be sub 20 health, so you just need 1 big frothing. You don't even need 2, and if you have 2, then you only need like 10 damage each, or if that, to kill your opponent. It's not like having to kill, you know, priest or something like that. And he still has that execute in hand as well, which is really important. So overall, very good planning by YanYu and very good managing of this game. Chiang hasn't really done anything particularly wrong. He could have gone for different lines, but yeah, it just hasn't really worked out for him right now. Aiming at that the 3-2 would be the worst thing possible, honestly. Either the 5-1 or the 3-3. And so he does that. Let's see, how much damage do we have? Oh, he came at the 5-1. I guess since he wants to get as much damage off the board as possible. So how much damage do we have? We have 9. And then plus the Death Bite would be 4, which would be gets to 13. But we have, oh, this is so awkward actually, because he really wants to win the game because he might die in the backswing to something crazy like another Doom Guard. Although I guess it's unlikely since his opponent wouldn't have Hellfire here. So I guess he can be safe knowing that he's not gonna probably die to anything crazy, so he can maybe just go face here. The problem is his opponent like taunts him twice or something like that. Especially if he goes too yellow and goes too much face. I don't think he has lethal. He doesn't have enough mana for all this stuff, so kind of makes sense. Looks like he's gonna trade off and kill off his opponent's Mountain Giant and maybe go face afterward. Sorry about the lag, or going back in time, I should say. Looks like we're revisiting this play. So yeah, it's probably gonna skip forward a bunch after this. Looks like he just played Thorson, which makes sense. He needed more mana to be able to execute everything that was in his head, and he actually didn't attack face, which makes sense as well. Didn't want to enable those Molten Giants, but top deck Hellfire by Chiang is going to change a lot of this, and unfortunately you can't kill this Thorson, which is a really big deal. So the question is whether you play the Molten and play really risky, or do you play the Healbot and play really safe. But I mean, the Healbot does challenge the Thorson. He goes for the Twilight Drake, which is kind of in between. I was pretty confused by that. I don't understand the reason why you wouldn't play Molten here. But let's see, is there some sort of lethal here? There's 9 damage to face, and then you can double slam, which would bring the frothing up to 4 damage only. Looks like he's going to start off with slam. And I think I would start with Battle Rage, honestly, if I were doing that. Yeah, I'd definitely start with Battle Rage if we're going to be drawing cards. Look, now he's in the Battle Rage, which is kind of strange to me. So yeah, probably going to clear this off with the Death Bite. Not sure if he's going to hit face with the Thorson as well. So yeah, based on what happened earlier, he was 1 damage off lethal. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I'm just counting the amount of mana as far as what he had to use. So he had to use all his mana, and he couldn't. There was no way to have lethal from top decking something because he's already used both inner rages. So that makes a bit of sense. In any case, okay, it's going to be Dr. Boom Taunt. He finally draws a taunt, speaking of Chiang, that is. And How much stuff can you play on the board? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you can play everything. So yeah, I think that's just a play. Just play everything on the board, and then hope that nothing kills your Frothing Berserker. Probably just run in. Yeah, just run in your. Oh, the Frothing Berserker dies. Oh my goodness, that really sucks. He can run his face into the. Why didn't he play the other Warsong earlier though? That's weird. Wait, does he have? What does he have? Oh, he has execute. Oh, he said. Wait, what? When did he have that? When did he get that execute? Does he have lethal anyway? I am so confused about what just happened. So apparently he ran in. He ran in the Armor Smith into the Boom Bot, and it killed his Frothing Berserker. And yeah, I guess this is fine. He's getting a bajillion armor, and it kills off his Thorsten. Oh my god, it feels so bad. But his opponent, he knows his opponent doesn't have any more AoE clear, at least most likely, unless he's running more than 2 copies of it. But Chiang is going to be able to taunt up a Molten Giant. Actually, he's going to be able to taunt up a Molten, or he's just going to play the double heal bot. I guess that makes sense. I guess he realized that taunt doesn't really make. I mean, if he has another execute, it's worse than just getting more damage. But yeah, this is actually so crazy that YanYu hasn't been able to pick up the win yet. It's been so unlikely that that would happen. But I mean, this is why you played the Warsong earlier. Yeah, it just making it that much more unlikely for his Frothing to die. He had space on the board, I believe. So yeah, it looks. I mean, he does have a ton of health, but I think he only has 1 more Frothing. Okay, sorry for the lag there again. It is going to be gnomish into gnomish. I imagine we're gonna go all face here. There's no real way to clear to protect your Warsongs anyway. So I guess you can kill one of the 3/3s to make it. I guess I guess this makes sense. Make it so that it's really unlikely for your Warsongs to die, and then just go face because the damage you're only saving 6 damage to face, which isn't super relevant right now. Well, again, this is a pretty good card, but yeah, it looks like he's just gonna get rid of all the Warsongs, which makes sense. Yeah, I can agree with this play. Just because you get rid of Warsongs, there's no way he has any sort of burst out of hand. So as long as you do this, you're fine. Yeah, so yeah, this is a good play here. Kill the Warsong, and you're probably good to go. You've also seen both patrons, so there's no way your opponent can like make a huge patron board and kill you from there. YanYu, as far as whether or not to concede to conceal cards, doesn't really make sense because everyone knows every single card in Patron unless you're teching certain cards in, and there's nothing of that sort in his hand right now. But he could just concede because he knows he has no way to win. This has been a long and tiring game, especially for me. Look at Chiang, he's just kind of smiling and laughing and doing weird stuff. Oh my god. I mean, there's nothing really for YanYu to do here. I guess he can clear up this Mountain Giant, but I mean, after that, what do you do? I suppose you could, yeah, you could play the Frothing and just try to get the biggest Frothing possible, but then it's gonna get BGH. He's just gonna armor pass? Wait, what? That's interesting. Alright, so we're probably going to see kill on this ghoul, and then that's going to make the Frothing big enough to be killed by BGH, and likely going to be Thorsten after that. No reason to tap at all. Oh yeah, kill the Armor Smith first. Okay. And I guess it doesn't matter. You're not going to do damage to the Frothing by killing it. So yeah, even though he's at 34 health, he's dead. He's actually running out of cards, and Shield Block's not gonna help. At this point, I would not show that. Yeah, at this point, I would not show that your opponent has shield block because shield block is definitely a card that can be teched in or out of decks. So yeah, definitely don't want to show the shield block there. There's a 0% chance you're winning the game. All right, so after a long back and forth game in which Chiang's Boombot had to kill a Frothing in a 1 in 7, I believe. He had a 1 in 7 plus 50-50 the damage on the Boombot in order to kill the Frothing, and got it. But in the end, Chiang is finally able to pull it out, and we're going to go into Druid versus Patron Warrior. Both of these decks have lost once already, and we'll see which one can pull it out this time. Chiang gonna toss everything except for that Shredder, and he's not gonna be too happy about what came back. I believe he's going second, right? He had 4 cards earlier. YanYu's taking his time with the mulligan. Chiang. YanYu's laughing about something. Like maybe they're talking to each other. But Chiang does pick up the Darnassus Aspirant, which is obviously useful here. And no way to kill it in the hand of YanYu at the moment. So yeah, probably just gonna be a pass here. No reason to coin it out. You're not coining out Darnassus just to play a Tempo BGH. So yeah, gonna be Darnassus into Shredder. Even if it gets killed, it can still coin Shredder. No way to kill it in the hand of YanYu right now. Double Battle Rage is pretty horrible. But if he can pick up an Inner Rage soon, he can be in good shape. The Whirlwind can be okay if he can manage to wait until turn 6. But can be. Oh, he does pick up the Inner Rage, so like, it looks like he's gonna go ahead and kill off this Darnassus. Leave behind as little as possible, as far as what's left over, because he's probably gonna, in his mind, he doesn't know his, or at least what's on the board. He doesn't know that Chiang had another Shredder, so he's just gonna leave. He wanted to leave only a 2-drop behind potentially, and picks up a second Inner Rage. Okay, this is actually pretty huge. I think he's gonna go for double 5/1s instead of making a 7/1, but that makes it kind of vulnerable to swipe. Alright, well, we'll see what happens here. Yeah, it's actually going to be really vulnerable to swipe. I think Chiang has actually a good clear here. We'll see. So it's going to be 3/3/3s, and so like the patrons can only spawn 1 more if he swipes right here. So if he swipes right here, no, I don't like the attack first. You swipe first, it clears the 2 5/1s. And then there's going to be 2 3/2s, 1 3/1, and a 3/3. And you can run your 3/1 to the fresh 3/3 when you're 4/2 and the other guy. Yeah, it looks like he's figured it out. So he's going to leave his opponent with only 1 patron that can spawn. It's going to be a 3/2. So it's going to be really crappy for YanYu right here, especially since he used so many resources on that. And at this point, Chiang just doesn't want to have a 1 attack minion to come to that Shredder, which is really unlikely. Yeah, you do trade here. And I'm not sure if he's going to coin Hero Power as well. Yeah, he's going to coin Hero Power. And that guy does trade evenly with the patron. And since there's already 2 Battle Rage, it's going to be unlikely for YanYu to develop anymore. I don't think we saw Cruel Taskmaster out of him. So only going to be this Whirlwind, and it's pretty ugly Whirlwind to use right now. Could go double Battle Rage though. I think that'd be perfectly fine. I mean, since your Thorson costs way too much now, anyway. I mean, even if you're Whirlwinding, you're gonna be Battle Raging first. So, goes for the Battle Rage to see what he picks up. Gets the Frothing and the Armor Smith, which are both too expensive. I mean, they're not both too expensive to play, but you want to get the second Battle Rage off anyway. So Yeah, just Battle Rage. I mean, it was kind of a decision whether or not to play the Temple Frothing, but probably better do this. And maybe he slams this down. Yeah, gonna slam this down, make it so that his opponent has to deal with it. And this is actually really annoying for Chiang, because he either has to force. He's gonna force it down. I thought he would roar it down. I think roar would be better to do right here. Although I guess he only hero powers afterward. But I think YanYu, after getting his board clear, that's actually a really good spot, because he's able to really put pressure on his opponent. He gets first play, and Chiang has to deal with this now. And this is exactly why you don't use force on the guy earlier, because force is much more useful in situations like this. He's gonna actually use his Druid's Claw to clear, which is really painful. He can take 4 damage and lose one of his minions to do this. And obviously the Thorson already got the value off. So yeah. Gonna just play all the little dudes onto the board. He doesn't really need to play Frothing right now, especially with the 0-cost Whirlwind in hand. So with this kind of board, YanYu is basically threatening lethal if Chiang ever plays anything onto the board. Does pick up Swipe, does Chiang. So it'll be interesting to see if he decides to go for that swipe. But no. Is YanYu gonna risk the boom bots again? It couldn't happen twice, right? So Chiang's laughing already. We'll see what happens. I would have liked to see the Whirlwind first. I don't know why he's hitting first. Just Whirlwind first, because it gives your opponent one more thing to run the guy in. I don't like him not giving himself the best chance with his Frothing. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, both times he could have played more guys in the field to give him a better chance, but I guess not. No. Doesn't get the patron, unfortunately, because the War Song is dead. But he can do a ton of damage to face. I think you still do the patron, actually. Yeah, I think you still do the patron. Because patron Whirlwind, you get a bunch of armor and you get a card. I think you still do it. And then you can... I guess he's just going to Whirlwind here. It sort of makes sense because you get to execute, and then you get to armor, or you get to Far's face as well. I gotta hurry up though. Oh yeah, he's gonna since he picks up that Gnomish, gonna play that anyway. So it's gonna be a ton of damage to face. It's gonna be what, 18, plus he gets a Gnomish. I didn't get attacked with the last guy. No. Oh, he had the Fiery Warlocks for the lethal. Oh, okay, that's why he's saying that he messed up. But gonna be unlikely for Chiang to be able to do anything about this. Even if he hero powers, he's still dead to the Death Bite. So yeah. And yeah, YanYu's just getting way too much armor for Chiang to be able to do anything in time. And he's gonna have to armor just to not die on board. But actually, why did he swipe there? I'm like actually just confused. He could have just BGH'd it. So, wait, what? I'm actually so confused. He's like, wait a second, that was really stupid. Yeah, sorry, I was looking on the side of YanYu about his lethal possibilities, but then didn't realize that Chiang could just BGH, like the only BGH target. Anyway, so YanYu's Grim Patron finally gets through. And, wait. What? Wait, YanYu already won with Druid. So this is Chiang's Druid, which means that this is YanYu's Rogue. What is going on? So guys, he doesn't have Warrior, Paladin, Mage. He has Warrior, Druid, Rogue. Completely different than what it says on the left side. Okay then. Everything's off today, guys. Not just me. Pretty good hand on the side of Chiang. He gets to Innervate Shade into Coin Shade. Hopefully it doesn't get Blade Flurry or anything. You see Van Cleef on the side of YanYu, not always running rogues, but definitely worth having. Can be really annoying to deal with sometimes. Double backstab is okay in even in Druid sometimes, because you're able to get off a lot of value of that, but in this case it's going to be not very useful, obviously, against these shades. Chiang is going to be playing a little bit off curve, but I mean he's going to be floating 1 mana next turn. And then the following turn, he's going to be able to play Lothab, though, so that's pretty nice, especially because that's likely going to be some sort of Blade Flurry turn. Although this would have been a Blade Flurry turn right now, so Chiang could be pretty can rest pretty assured that there's going to be no Blade Flurry. He could have attacked this guy with this guy last turn just to play against Blade Flurry, but if you're going so all in as to innervate one of these guys, you're not going to worry about Blade Flurry. You just have to take the chance here. So YanYu plays out the is going to play out the Tinker's Oil, which immediately prompts Chiang obviously to go for the Lothab, since Blade Flurry would now cost 7. But yeah, counter Lothab isn't so great when your opponent has a 5/5 and a 5/6 on the board, and this is in a nutshell why this matchup is actually just so good for the Druid. It uses a lot of professionals like to say that that the Rogue is favored, but yeah, Druid has just so many options to be able to get this kind of start, whereas Rogue is usually pretty reactive, and the statistics bear that out. Chiang deciding not to trade here makes sense. I mean, if his opponent has a way to clear, he's going to be using his Lothab to clear anyway. And I guess the worst case scenario is he has like backstab onto the Shade and then Flurry, then he runs his Lothab on the other guy. But even then, it's not like even then your opponent's at 5 health, so yeah, it's pretty horrible situation. So there is the Eviscerate onto the wait, he can Eviscerate the Lothab, but doesn't die. Looks like there's no way out of this one for YanYu. Other than heal, yeah, he can heal himself and get himself out of range, but it doesn't feel too good, obviously. It looks like he's just going to concede. Doesn't want to give up the information that he has Farseer or Van Cleef in his deck. And if the decks are correct for Chiang, we are going to be going into a Rogue versus Rogue Mirror, which is always fun. And that's not sarcasm, guys. It's a pretty fun matchup. Alright, so Rogue versus Rogue. Both have golden portraits because Rogue was a really strong class for a really long time. Ooh, Cold Blood. What? That was a Cold Blood. I saw that, Chiang. Don't try to hide it from me. Don't try to hide that Cold Blood. I saw it. I saw that card. Can't hide anything from me, Chiang. So yeah, gonna be the Oil Rogue versus the Oil Rogue. But Chiang has a little bit of teched in there. Redundancy is redundant. But yeah, it looks like each side's hands are rounding out pretty nicely. Have the Backstab, SI, Valid Teacher, Drake, as well as the Prep Eviscerate. I mean, I'm just naming all the cards in YanYu's hand, but they're all pretty good for the state of the game. Maybe not the Eviscerate as much, but Chiang obviously has a 3-4-5 curve as well. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of decision making to be going on this game. Looks like YanYu's favoring getting a 1/1 onto the board rather than using his backstab or using his SI7. He figures with the prep he's probably going to be able to redagger at some point. On the side of Chiang, ooh, what that? I don't even remember what that card is. I know it either draws a card or a chicken. I think it's either a minion or a chicken. No, if it's a minion, it's a chicken. If it's a spell, you just draw the spell, I think. I don't remember what this card is, guys. Okay, guys in the chat, I know there's some people here. I know there's some people watching. Tell me what that card is. Anyway, so Chiang, yeah, he couldn't deal with the Violet Teacher, unfortunately. And it's going to be Prep Eviscerate into SI7 into Clear with the dagger. He was obviously hoping for something like a 3-2. But at least it wasn't like a Middle House Madness run, right? And this card, I don't remember what this card is. It was 2 expansions ago, guys. Was it 3 expansions ago? No, I think it's 2 expansions ago. I think it was Black Rock Mountain, right? But it's not working out for Chiang so far. But yeah, it just worked out for YanYu. I mean, obviously he made a very good play with that Violet Teacher, but it just basically worked out for him that he's had a hand that Chiang just absolutely cannot deal with. Chiang hovering over that Azure Drake, looking for answers. Obviously, this is another option going for the clear on this Violet Teacher with the SI7. I imagine there's at least some sort of healing in Chiang's deck, so playing defensive here is probably okay. If you play Drake, there's a chance you just get blown out of the water. So yeah, gonna be the Drake into likely trade because you know things on the board for Miracle Rogue for Oil Rogue can do too much. The prep comes in the hand to be able to prep sprint, but I doubt that's going to be the play here. Could go for the chicken. Unfortunately, I can't read Chinese, so even if he plays that card, I can't even read it. He is going to go for that sprint. Probably looking for something like Blade Flurry. Draws another oil, completely unnecessary. Prep is good. When you prep sprint, you want to draw another prep, actually. Probably gonna... I think I'd like to see the Blood Mage, yeah, just to draw more. He really needs to keep drawing. If his play was prep sprint, he needs to keep drawing. Since he didn't draw what he wanted, obviously. But, yeah, going to be Shredder. Did he top deck that? Not sure. I think he did top deck that. But yeah, going to be more damage to the face, which is going to be annoying for Chiang. He has an Owl teched in. You never play Silence in Rogue. What does he cut for this? Probably something important. Looks like it's going to be, yeah, finally he's going to be able to Blade Flurry. But, I didn't get a chance to see it. Look at Yanni's face with about his reaction to the owl. That's actually kind of crazy. But he's going to get a 5-1 owl on the board, which is going to be pretty annoying. And All in Chiang is definitely back into this game. And owl is not something you really want to sap because, I mean, he can just owl you again. Although there's not much stuff in Rogue to owl. Well, there's the Van Cleave that he has. So there is that. Looks like he's just going to favor clearing by flurrying. Just because it does do 2 damage. And he has second flurry in hand, so just using the cards that he has available to him. Thorson as well. Thorson isn't too crazy in Rogue, but it's just one more card that you're removing a card from your deck to deal with. Anyway, are we going to see a chicken or are we going to see a spell? Going to be another guy which turns into a chicken, I believe. Yes. Yeah. Look at Yanni's face. He's like, "What is this deck you're running?" Oh my god. So yeah, Chiang is not very happy because he drew the spell right after he drew the minion, which really sucks. And yeah, on the side of YanYu, does he have lethal? Is that right? Looks like he has. No, he's just clearing the board. Okay. That was confusing me for a second. I'm like, how does he have lethal? Yes, he clears the board that way. He's pretty close to killing him. And no healing on the side of Chiang. Unfortunately, these weird tech cards aren't really working out for him. He can clear the board with that Deadly Poison and the Eviscerate. And does he have enough? Yeah, he can play a Shredder as well. So he's still in the game as long as he doesn't die this coming turn. He's actually thinking about whether or not he wants to kill this SI. It's worth thinking about because the reason why you kill Rogue minions is that they can be buffed by Tinkers, but if your opponent has Tinkers, then you're dead anyway. So it makes a bit of sense. He might want to just push for damage. Whatever he does, it's better to play the Shredder. You don't want to be tinkering here because Tinker wouldn't be enough damage and you wouldn't be able to flurry anyway. Looks like he's going to clear it. Just try to get repetitive damage and hope his opponent doesn't have lethal over like maybe 2 turns, which is definitely possible. And that's one of the better draws for Chiang that YanYu drew. Sap is going to be pretty useful here. One of the better cards you're ever going to be able to sap on the side of the Rogue. And YanYu knows that there's no more removal, at least in the hand of Chiang right now, so just getting this stuff on the board is going to be really a lot of pressure. And obviously Chiang not very happy about the situation. Backstab. It's not enough. He can't kill off the Farseer. And he can't kill off his own Shredder either. So that's going to be it after this long and tiring, for me at least, and just like back and forth and crazy tech cards by Chiang and wrong portraits, and frothing berserkers dying to bombs, but then not dying to bombs, and then lots of crazy stuff happening. Finally, YanYu takes it with the rogue, not the mage, and it's going to be 3-2 in favor of YanYu. What a crazy series we had there.